Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Alpha Doctors, and today we are going to continue our session of musculoskeletal system in which we are going to study about the brachial plexus lesions. So to understand brachial plexus lesions, first of all we need to understand what is brachial plexus. A brachial plexus is actually a combination of different types of nerves that are originating from the spinal cord that join together and form a combination of nerves to supply different branches to different parts of the body. Brachial plexus is basically a plexus that supplies most of the upper limb in human body. So the brachial plexus is basically composed of five different types of nerve roots, starting from the C5 up to T1. So C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. They combine together and give out different branches to supply the upper limb. Starting from C5 and C6, and then we have the C7, then we have the C8 and T1. C8 and T1. All right. So these are basically known as roots. For example, here you can see that these are known as the roots, the origination of the nerves. These roots join together and form trunks. The trunks are divided into three trunks of the brachial plexus: upper trunk, middle trunk, and lower trunk. The trunks then proceed into the divisions. The divisions then proceed into the cords, and the cords eventually gives out branches. So this is how we have the division. We start from the trunks, then we go into the we start on the root and go into trunks, then divisions, cords, and finally the branches. So first of all, we have C5 and C6. C5 and C6 join together and form a trunk that is known as the upper trunk. The C7 continues as it is and form the middle trunk, and then you have the C8 and T1 that join together and form the lower trunk. So we have three trunks: upper trunk, middle trunk, and lower trunk. The upper trunk is formed by the C5, C6, middle trunk is formed by the C7, and the lower trunk is formed by the C8 and T1. The upper trunk, then we have the divisions. After divisions we have cords. So what happens in the divisions is basically a few branches from these trunks move here and there and form cords. So about one branch from the middle trunk, here you can see that one branch from the middle trunk goes and join with the upper trunk, and this forms the lateral cord. This lateral cord then continues as a branch that is known as the musculoskeletal nerve. So what has basically happened here, here was coming the upper trunk, and one branch came from the middle trunk during its division phase that combined with the upper trunk, and this formed the musculocutaneous nerve. All right. Then we have the posterior cord. The posterior cord is basically a combination of all three types of trunks. So one branch will be coming from the upper trunk, the middle trunk will continue as it is, and one branch will be coming from the lower trunk. So this combination, that is the C7 going as it is, and then we have the combination of upper trunk, that is C5 and C6, and then we have the combination of C8 and T1 as the lower trunk. This combination forms a common branch that is known as the posterior cord. This posterior cord then goes and divides into two different types of nerves. One of them is the axillary nerve, and second one is the radial nerve. So after giving out these branches, that is the axillary nerve and the radial nerve, this sorry yes, giving out the radial nerve, this continues as it is and as the median nerve. So we have three basically types of divisions that are three branches that are coming off from the posterior cord. So one of them is the axillary, the other one is the radial, and the last one is the median. Then we have the last cord or last trunk, that is the lower trunk. The lower trunk continues as it is before it is joined. The lower trunk continues as it is before giving out a final branch, that is the ulnar nerve. So this is how we get our branches of the brachial plexus. So we have five nerves, that is the C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. These eventually join together and give out 5 branches. One is the musculoskeletal, second is the axillary, the third one is the radial, the fourth one is the medial, and the fifth one is the ulnar. The musculocutaneous is formed by the combination of upper trunk and middle trunk. The posterior is formed by the posterior trunk cord is formed by the combination of upper trunk, middle trunk, and lower trunk. Then posterior cord gives out branches, that is the axillary and radial nerve and median nerve. And in the last, the lower trunk continues as it is to give out the ulnar nerve. So these are the main 5 nerves, and what lesions are there and that are arising from these from the defect of these nerves we are going to study ahead. So and this is the continuation of the brachial plexus lesions. First of all, we have the Earth's palsy. The Earth's palsy is also known as the water tip position. What happens in Earth's palsy is basically there's a traction or tear of the upper trunk. And now we know that the upper trunk is formed by the combination of C5 and C6 root. So if we have the problem here, that is here, if there is any defect in the upper trunk, then we develop a lesion that is known as the Earth's palsy. So it is common in infants, but it can also occur in adults. So during infants, when there is lateral traction of neck during delivery, for example, there is a mishandling of the child during delivery, this can result in traction on the upper trunk, and this results in the defect that is known as Earth's palsy. The muscle deficit involves, and the function deficit involves the abduction deficit, the lateral rotation deficit, and the flexion and supination deficit. So the abduction deficit is due to deltoid and supraspinatus involvement. The lateral rotation deficit is due to the infraspinatus and supraspinatus muscle involvement, and the flexion or supination deficit is due to the involvement of biceps brachii muscle. Then you have the clumsy paralysis. Clumsy paralysis is due to traction or tear of the lower trunk. Now we know that the lower trunk is formed by the C8 and T1. So if there is any defect at this place, this will result in clumsy paralysis. This is again common in infants due to upward force on arm during delivery. Again, this is due to mishandling of the child during delivery by the midwife or by the doctor, and it can also result in adults due to trauma. The main involvement of the muscles is the intrinsic hand muscles such as lumbricals, interosseous thenar, and hypothenar muscles. This results in the formation of claw hand because the lumbricals normally flex the MCP joints and extend the dip and pip joints, but this function is lost during the clumsy paralysis, resulting in a claw hand. Then you have the thoracic outlet syndrome. Thoracic outlet and the nerve when the roots are originating from the thoracic outlet. For example, here is a thorax, all right, and here is the nerves arising from. If there is an extra nerve that is impinging on the brachial plexus, this will result in thoracic outlet syndrome. So the compression of lower trunk and subclavian vessels, most commonly within the scalene triangle. This is due to the cervical rib. Cervical rib is basically an extra rib, as you can see here in the X-ray that is shown. Alright, and it can also result due to a pathological condition such as Pancoast tumor. The thoracic outlet syndrome is the same as the clumsy palsy, and it results in atrophy of intrinsic hand muscles due to ischemia, pain, and edema due to vascular compression. And then you have the winged scapula. So winged scapula is due to lesion of the long thoracic nerve. The long thoracic nerve is basically a nerve that arises from the combination of 5 different types of roots involving C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. So all these 5 roots combine together and form the long thoracic nerve, and if there is injury to the long thoracic nerve, it results in the lesion of the muscles that are involved, include the long serratus anterior muscles. Serratus anterior muscle basically holds the scapula of that is present at the back of our body. Holds serratus anterior holds the scapula in its place. If there is lesion of the long thoracic nerve. This results in the malfunction of the serratus anterior, and the serratus anterior cannot hold the scapula in its position. So the scapula will move behind the normal body anatomy. So this can occur after axillary node dissection due to mastectomy, or it can also occur in the step wounds. And there is inability to anchor scapula to the thoracic cage. There is the person cannot abduct arm above the horizontal position. So this was all about the brachial plexus and some of the common lesions that are tested on the USMLE exam. I hope you have understood it well. And if there are any questions, you can ask in the comment section. And in our next video, we are going to study about the wrist lesions and different types of carpal tunnel syndrome, etc. Thank you.